All right, welcome to the second half of our show. I'm going to talk to you about getting ready for this madness. I do have a question. Did anyone besides Rebecca pick up one of our invitations to the 5K run? All right, we got another one. So we got at least two people thinking about representing the MAS. So excellent. All right.
I made 30 copies.
Yeah, I know. That's why it was hard to tell that the stack hadn't dwindled much. So, free T-shirt, free T-shirt. So, all right. A few of us have been around here long enough to know that I've been here with the MAS since the early '90s, and actively involved and either on the board of directors or an officer of the organization from time to time. But my son got involved in Boy Scouts and actually got involved in Cub Scouts, and I complained about the den leader, and next thing I know, I'm the den leader. And then when he bridged to Boy Scouts, I spent a couple of years as den leader, and I thought, well, okay, he's going to Boy Scouts. They're better organized and all that, and I'll kind of step aside and get back to my astronomy gig. And his mother and I decided to get divorced. And at that time, I thought, you know, if I don't stay involved with him in scouting, we won't have anything to talk about, because I'm absolutely no good at video games. And so I got him on Tuesday nights and every other weekend, and Tuesday nights we went to Boy Scouts every Tuesday night till he moved out of the house, went off to college. And I don't regret a moment of that. I wasn't able to spend as much time with the MAS as I wanted to, but that whole adventure of being an adult leader in Scouts made me a better human being, made my son a very fine young man, and I'm proud to have been a part of that organization. In that organization, we learned a lot about teaching young men to be prepared, survival, all that stuff. And that's what you teach young boys. You tell them you're teaching them how to survive in the woods and all this. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. They don't listen to anything you tell them. They don't do a thing you tell them. And they go out there and they have fun. They run till they fall asleep. They get up the next day and do it again. All right? In the meantime, I learned how to stay comfortable. Okay? and that was the beauty of Boy Scouts. In Cub Scouts, the adults did all the work when you went camping. In Boy Scouts, the boys took the adults camping. We drove them out there. They set up camp. They did all the cooking. We supervised. So anyway, for this MAS marathon, if you're going to stay out all night, this is Memphis, and it still gets cold in Memphis. It'll at least be cool. Let's talk a little bit about what happens to stay comfortable. You need to dress in layers. Don't come out with a T-shirt and the biggest, heaviest coat you own thinking that that's going to be okay. Just unzipping it probably isn't going to be enough when you get hot. You want to be able to shed clothes and layers to stay cool. A key to staying comfortable all night is to never get wet. If you sweat, you will not dry off. You'll be uncomfortable the rest of the night. The colder it gets, the more uncomfortable you'll be. And for that reason, it's not a bad idea to bring a change of clothes. Bring extra clothes that you can change. If you, for whatever reason, decide you're going to get there late and hurry up and set up, work up a sweat while you're doing it, After it cools down another 10 or 15 degrees, change clothes, get in the car and change and put on some dry shirts, dry socks, stay warm. Dress in thin synthetics. Cotton kills. If you ever talk to people who try to survive in very cold weather, the one phrase you'll hear them all the time: cotton kills. It's great comfort, wicks water off of you, really doesn't get it away from you, but it soaks the water up, but it doesn't do anything with it, and it'll stay uncomfortable. So wear synthetics, dry weave, all these new athletic clothes are done in synthetic materials designed to keep your body dry. Brian talked a little bit about dew. We should talk about dew. We will have dew. It'll be on you all night. It'll be on your equipment. It'll be on you. You'll get damp. Your clothes will get damp. Again, maybe bring separate additional jackets. Bring a raincoat for when the dew really starts to settle. You can keep it off of you. Oops. Hydrate. This is often forgotten. Bring water. Drink water. Drink before you get thirsty. The first sign of dehydration is generally a headache. You will not necessarily feel thirsty, especially if you're cold. But if you're starting to get a headache, that is a clear sign you're dehydrated. Coffee does not hydrate you. All right, it's a diuretic. It'll do the opposite. It'll cause you to get rid of your hydration. But I mean, I'm not saying don't drink coffee. Just saying bring plenty of water. Be prepared to drink water all night. Avoid lots of sugars, and I will talk about foods. We don't normally think of bringing anything more than cookies to an observing session. You're going to be out there all night. Honestly, I'm planning on bringing stuff to make a Dutch oven. A Dutch oven is a cast iron campfire cooking thing Boy Scouts are famous for. I've got a charcoal table and all the stuff, a couple of Dutch ovens. I'm planning on at least doing a cobbler, depending on how many people show up. And I might go ahead and do a Dutch oven stew, have something nice and warm to eat. If it gets about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, you need something with some meat in it to keep you going. I'll do that. If you're going to bring stuff to Burton's for camping, for this kind of thing, we don't have their permission to build campfires on the ground. If you've ever heard of leave no trace, that's the idea. Whatever you want to do, be prepared to be able to clean it all up and take it with you when you go in the morning. That includes charcoals, embers, all this stuff. If you want to have charcoal fire, make sure you bring water to put it out with, this sort of thing. So I'll bring those kinds of things. If y'all are interested, we will partake in Boy Scout delicacies. So go easy on the sweets. I'm bad about wanting to eat something sweet in the middle of the night, especially when I start getting tired. I think a little sugar boost is good, but that actually puts me to sleep more often than not. Yes, ma'am?
It says go easy on the sweats.
It sure does, doesn't it? I'll be honest with you, I finished this slide here just a little while ago, so I have been, and so I was sweating it. I've been too busy to do this thing like I meant to, so thank you for that. All right. So during the course of this thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but basically my plan is to get there early, before the sun goes down, maybe a couple of hours, get the telescope set up, get things set up where I want them to be during the course of the night. I will start set up on the eastern side of the field so that I have a good western view of the horizon and further away from the trees so the trees aren't blocking my view of the horizon. I will get there early enough to set up that big telescope that Brian's going to help me load up at the end of the night without breaking a sweat. So slow pace, take my time, set up my telescope. As the sun starts to go down, we'll start observing. You can get through the sky in a few hours, and basically you can stop and let the sky catch up with you and start again. So in the middle of the evening, you actually have got an hour or two to stop, sit down, do whatever you want to, rest. If you want to rest, bring a lawn chair, bring a recliner, bring a blanket. I'm going to have a couple of Boy Scout tents set up if you want to get inside of one of those and lay down. I think I have air mattresses for both of them. Now, I might be in one for a little while, but we can take shifts. Bring a sleeping bag. Bring something to cover up with to keep the dew off of you. Go get in your car and lay the seat back, whatever. Just don't turn on the lights. Somebody will come up and knock you out. So be prepared to get some rest in the middle of the night. This is going to be a long deal. So we've got food, we've got the right clothes, we've got plenty of water to drink, we've got some way to rest. Toilet paper. There's a restroom, right, in the barn? Yes. But, who knows whether they'll have toilet paper. I'll have toilet paper. As far as I'm concerned, every one of you should have a roll of toilet paper in your car. That's just being prepared. So bring toilet paper. All right, so now I want to talk about preparing for observing. And this is basically plan your observing ahead of time. If you think you're going to show up there with your star chart or your observing list and get through it, you might. I don't know. But spend some time thinking about your observing plan ahead of time. I will show you that some of these, this observing list that we've printed out here, I haven't compared to the one I have in my computer. There is no award for letting a computer show you 110 Messier objects. So that's up to you. I will tell you that is how I will be doing this. I'm either going to use my Dobsonian telescope connected to my computer that I will push to based on my computer showing me where to go. Or if I have time to get it working by then, my 10-inch Meade that's on an equatorial mount that will automatically go to each object all on its own. And that for me is the challenge because that's the stuff that I really like to do. I like to make machines do the work. That's my fascination in the world. So to each his own, but have your Messier list prepared ahead of time. Star charts, I do want to point out, and Bill I think is sold out. I do have another pair up here. Bill spent years putting together these books, and they are absolutely excellent. And taking a equatorial mounted telescope and finding the Messier objects in a star hopping fashion. It's easy to use instructions. You get the telescope lined up with your finder scope and the crosshairs. You find something easy in your finder scope, and then through some pretty clear instructions you can move your telescope into position to see it in the magnified field of view in the regular body of the telescope. Bill?
Yeah, let me just wait till objects get near the meridian. The Dobsonian telescope is on an equatorial mount because up and down is north and south and left and right is east and west, and those directions will apply. If you get the ones over in the west first and then start
At the meridian.
across the meridian, this will work.
Very good, very good. They're excellent books. The first, it takes 2 volumes to get all 110 objects. Do you actually? So I'll leave the controversy of M101 and M102 alone. Well, that'll be a subject for if anybody actually does 110. We'll talk about the controversy of 2 that we some people think of the same thing. So yeah. So if not these charts, other charts, and again the do thing. Remember to bring plastic to keep your papers covered, your logbook, whatever you're going to log all these in, you'll need to keep those covered. Do will be not your friend. I tell you what happens if you've not really paid attention, if you've not spent the night out. When it first turns dark, there's generally a breeze. It feels pretty cool. There's moisture starting to settle as the temperature drops. And then a couple hours into that, it'll warm up again, as much as 4 and 5 degrees. And then as you start to approach midnight, the temperature's starting to fall off again. Depending on sky conditions, the dew might not be so bad. Things might appear to clear up. Don't be fooled. Don't be lax, because about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it'll start hitting again pretty good, and everything will be wet again. So don't leave your telescope unattended, uncovered, and pointing up. Point it sideways so the dew doesn't settle on it. Brian had a great example about putting hand warmers with rubber bands around the objectives. You can do that with telescopes too. You don't have to buy an expensive anti-dewing system for your telescope for this one event. There are other ways to handle that. So try to keep them covered when you're not using them. Be mindful of it and stay ahead of the dew. Logbook, we've got, I think they're pretty much all gone. The Messier Logs, whatever kind of logbook you want to keep about it, but log your observations. And this is a link to, I will show you on our website. If you go to our website and then go to the members page, these forms are here, and I've made them in a bolder font for this month for good reason. This is the observing records. This is one of those links. The Messier observing record and instructions is here, and that's the instructions, and this is the form, and there's like 12 sheets. It takes you through all 110. Then this is a marathon order list. So this will tell you what order that you want to look at them in. And I'll go through that some more in a few minutes. Bill?
5 of these if anybody wants them.
Great. Bill brought some too. So we have some more of those left. And that is, when he said these, this is what he was talking about. So those are available on our website. You can download them. There's some other award information here. What I don't have published yet, and we should talk about a little bit, one of the things that we've done in recent history is created what we call a stepped award system. So this original Messier Award required 80 objects for the first recognition. We have a program that recognizes fewer objects in a stepped pattern for recognition, and I will try to get that posted. But if you come participate in this thing, share your log with us. I think the minimum thing is 10 of them. That gets you a hearty handshake and a slap on the back at the very least. So, let us know how you did in this deal. So, let me back to my. All right, where am I at? All right, do, and more do. Hand warmers, anything else you can come up with. If you keep the thing warmer than the outside air, dew won't condense on it indirectly. No matter what it is, whatever temperature it is, if you leave it set out in the open air, dew will fall on it, okay? If you turn it so that the dew can't fall on it and keep the temperature slightly above that of the outside air, it won't condense on it by itself. So keep those things in mind for keeping your optics clean, and don't, depending on your telescope, certainly you don't go wiping a telescope mirror off for any reason ever. Just say no. Just don't do it. And if you don't know why, talk to me after the meeting. And other optics, binoculars, you can clean those like you would a pair of glasses, and most refractor telescopes, you can clean the main objective like you would a pair of glasses. Use the right stuff, use no harsh chemicals, and the right kind of rags, you'll be all right. But you really don't want to get to that point. You don't want to try to wipe dew off of your optics. Batteries, all right? I will be there with 2 very large car batteries to power all of my stuff, because I have lots of stuff. There'll be at least 3 computers, 2 or 3 cameras, telescope drives. It's what I do, okay? If all you bring electronic is your red flashlight, bring spare batteries, okay? You're going to be out there all night. If you haven't run a flashlight all night and don't know how long your batteries will last, bring spare batteries. So let's see. So this is avoid going mad. Enjoy the madness. Arrive early. Don't get in a panic. Don't work up a sweat. Also, by the way, arriving early, if you're not familiar with Burton's, you're going to want to be familiar with the area. I'm going to set up east in the middle of the night, move west so that I can observe the things coming up in the east over the trees. Stepping in a pothole in the middle of the night, doing that would be a bad thing. So I'm going to know where the potholes are ahead of time. Walking around in the middle of the night in the dark is dangerous. Get familiar with your surroundings before you get started. I doubt seriously any of us will do 110 objects. I'll be impressed with those that get 80. I'll be impressed if anybody does 100 and plus. I will be doubly impressed. There are lots of reasons why. Not many of them have got to do with anyone's abilities. It has to do with where we're at. We'll start in the evening. Well, I'll go through that in a minute when I show the sky map thing. But there are lots of reasons why we may not see all the objects in the night. Light pollution, seeing conditions, horizons are the reasons. But One of the things that I want to see happen, I would love for this to become an annual event. I would love for this to become something we do as a group. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to get young people out to try to spend the evening together and under the sky and have fun. So that's my take on that. Here is a view of the sky and where all the objects are, in much too much detail and too small a picture for you to really tell anything, but it is a pretty picture. Here's another pretty picture of all 110 Messier objects. If you don't know the catalog, it's essentially galaxies, nebulas, and star clusters. And here are some of my favorites. This is next to Alpha Centauri, Omega Centauri. This is my favorite. This is M13 and Hercules. And short of the color in those stars, I can get that view out of my telescope. I can get that view out of Jeremy's telescope.
Get the colors.
I don't get the color. I love your binoculars, but you can come over here and look at this. The Sombrero Galaxy, I've always loved that dark lane through there. I never quite see this kind of brightness in it. This is the Owl Nebula and the Trifid. Is that Lagoon? No, this is Orion. This is M42. This, I never see that color. Of course, I do get the Cheerio. This thing, you see this great picture right here, and you go chasing after that thing, and it's so tiny. It's really cool to see it. And once you find it, you see it, and you just go, that star's not in focus. And it takes a minute of looking at it to realize that star is not only not in focus, but it has a hole in it, and that's when you go, that's it. Otherwise, you never get that. Well, you can with cameras and all that stuff, but visually, you don't get that view. I have seen the Whirlpool Galaxy look just like that through the eyepiece of a 30-inch telescope down at French Camp Academy and Rainwater Observatory down in French Camp, Mississippi. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's not bad through my 13-inch, but it's a lot of fun to look at. So that's it for my slideshow. What I do want to do now is switch to some planetarium style software. This is what Brian was talking about earlier, it's the Sky Safari. All right. Can y'all see that all right? Do I need to dim the lights anymore? Is everything all right? So what you're looking at is the western horizon from what could be mistaken for a Burton's type environment, except when you get around here to these rock formations, you go, that ain't it. So, all right, so this is Saturday, March 10th. 5:12 p.m. We're going to accelerate time. As sun starts to set, Mercury and Venus are going down. It's not dark yet. We're still in twilight. Now, here's the sad news. By the time we get dark, it's still going to look like twilight. And it's going to look like twilight there the rest of the night. Because this is looking at Memphis, looking in the direction of Memphis. You'll have the sky dome of light pollution that will be interfering with your ability to see these early Messier objects. And these things will set pretty soon after it gets dark enough to see them. Yeah, observe. Observing list, Messier Marathon, center object. All right, so the Messier Marathon can start with the M77. You jump over to M74, M33, and then the Andromeda Galaxy, M32, M31, and M110.
There's one of them that looks like it's just set,
I'm sorry?
just to the right of the square box.
M30? Or is that 30 or 38? Yeah, I think so. Right. Then M52, and then you start back up. Oh, I hate when that happens. There you go. I haven't figured out how to make this automatically go on time. Give me about 7 minutes on each object and then make it move. Because the telescope will follow this. You know, it'll just do what this says. If I could figure out how to time sequence this, so just move and move and move, then I'll spend most of the evening sitting in the chair looking at the computer screen and the camera doing the stuff on the, never mind. That's not what y'all want to hear. So, let me zoom out some. So this is looking west, and if you, I generally, when I go to a full sky view, I like south at the bottom. It's just my personal preference. But if you look, you see that things will be setting over here and coming up from over here, and you get started, you can work a lot of this stuff, and by about midnight be into this coma cluster. I'm gonna hit go on the time clock here. That's 10:30. 11, that's 11:30. Okay, so now you've got this mass of Messier objects near the meridian, and you can use Bill's star hopping method with the Dobsonian telescope. For me, the fun starts about 3 o'clock in the morning. It's too much. All right. So we've got Jupiter up. M13 is high enough in the sky to get a good view of it. M57, which I also love to look at, is up there someplace. Where did it go?
To the left of M13.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. It's coming up in the sky. So, and Alpha Centauri, Omega Centauri, where is it? Yeah. I don't think it's going to come over the horizon, is it? Probably not. But on the 10th, you'll see in the east, we've got the moon coming up around 4 o'clock. It's starting to come up over the horizon. So the ability to see these last objects here before sunrise is going to be difficult. But again, the 10th can be, the plan is, if it's clear on the 10th, we're going. If it's clear on the 17th, we're going again. The deal is we don't get enough clear weekends here to let one get by. If it's clear on the 10th and we don't, and it is on the 17th, you can call a 10th a practice run and the 17th the marathon. And if it's only clear, and at the end of it all, we can call this year a practice run, because we got next year to try it again. So,
Rick,
yes, sir.
in any event, we shouldn't hold out for the 17th because that gives you a half-hour disadvantage over in the west.
That's true.
And you're gonna lose 7 or 8 degrees of altitude just by waiting the next week.
Right. And also realize too that for the Memphis Astronomical Society Messier Awards, it matters not what day you observed them on. If you want to get a Messier Marathon Award from we don't have one, but if somebody earns it, we'll make one up. But SEDS has one. I'm sure that the Pacific, the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, I'm sure they've got one. You want to apply for one of those, you're going to have to observe all 110 objects in one night. That's another award. If you want to go for that, that's great. We'll support you every way we can. So that's really my take on it all. I'm sorry I didn't have more time to get better prepared, but work has just been work. But there you have it. Can I answer any questions? Thank you very much.